Tyra Black and Jorja Johnson just ended Leigh Waters and Anna Bright's 45-match win streak at the PPA in Las Vegas. In this video, I'm going to dive into exactly how they beat the best women's doubles team the sport has ever seen, as well as several things that you can apply to your own game by watching that match. We're also going to go through everything else that happened in Las Vegas this weekend, including bad bounces, bad calls, and Lucian Goins' second title in a row. Before the tournament even started, we had a ton of news to cover. First, we had the Christian Alshon and Leigh Waters breakup. Leigh's been coaching Christian for a couple of years, and let's just say the tensions boiled over in San Diego a couple of weeks ago, and we got some good bird watching. The post was very nice and professional from Christian, but it was clear that the two just couldn't continue, and Leigh's allegiance had to be with her daughter, Leigh. Since they're competing on a week-in, week-out basis, this is understandable from both sides. Anyway, last week, ProXR launched the Jolt paddle, and to celebrate, I'm going to be giving away 3 paddles to people that comment on this video, as well as follow and subscribe across the different platforms. Back to Vegas, Deckel Bar withdrew from Vegas, and you have to guess that he still just isn't at full strength. Zane Ford also withdrew due to some blood oxygen level issues, and he was in the hospital. And when Christian found out that the event was going to be on a rollout surface, he decided to pull out of singles. The court situation, it was downright bad. We had tons of bad bounces, and the grittiness of the surface definitely leads to more injury potential. The lighting in the facility was just also not good whatsoever. Rumor behind the scenes is that the PPA is no longer going to be using these rollout courts, and that would be a big win for everybody. Finally, before the tournament, James Ignatowicz announced his separation from Selkirk. He's working on his own paddle line, and I'm assuming he's going to be using it in Cincinnati in a couple of weeks, so that'll be interesting to watch. At the tournament, Thursday, as always, is singles day. On the men's side, Alex Crum faced off against Federico Stocksrud again and took him out again. Fed seems to be struggling since the implementation of the lifetime ball. This is his second loss to Alex Crum. Jack Sock was playing well, and he had a couple of great wins, and he was moving really, really well. Even after doing well, though, he wasn't a fan of the conditions, and he gave this pretty funny interview statement.
Honestly, I'm just starting over here to get off this side because I can't swing. You can look at my paddle. I can't swing. The video board has chewed up a brand new paddle. So there's no point in playing over here. So I just want to get that game out of the way, go over there and fire up, play 6 points here and then end over there.
And he seemingly got hurt in the third game against Johnny G. Well, speaking of Johnny G, his nickname is officially Luch, not Johnny G. Other notable results include Chris Hayworth falling to Hunter Johnson in the round of 16 in his first PPA tournament since signing with the UPA. Now, speaking of Hunter, he ended up taking over the #1 place in the pro singles ranking, and for somebody that hasn't been playing the PPA for all that long, it's a pretty impressive feat. At the end of the day, we had new world #1 facing off against Lucian Goins for the title. Women's singles was less eventful other than Leah Jansen falling to Jada Bowie, the sister of Maya Bowie. There weren't too many upsets. And at the end of the day, we ended up with Caitlin Christian and Kate Fahey facing off for the title on Sunday. Friday was mixed doubles day, and a couple interesting results. Wyatt Stone and Zoe Wheel pulled off upsets against Lauren Stratman and Julian Arnold, as well as Jaume and Tina, which was pretty interesting. Jonathan Trong partnered up with Jorja Johnson, and the commentators let it slip that the two of them may or may not be dating, so good for them. JW was sitting this one out for some reason or another, so the two of them got to play together, and it's a good team. Jonathan is good. He got picked up by the Bay Area Breakers, and they're playing good ball. Take a look at this shot. This was coined an FU Ernie. It's basically where you Ernie, you're still standing outside of the court, and then you just decide to hit it again to say FU to the opponents. I don't think he was actually doing this, but pretty entertaining nonetheless. They ended up losing to Tyra and Hayden in 3 in the quarters, and Tyra and Hayden kept it going with a win over Catherine and Christian, 11-8 in the third to send them to Championship Sunday. Federico and Anna Bright partnered up once again, and they gave Ben and Leigh a run for their money. They won the first game 11-7. They lost the next 2 games 11-1 and 11-5, and Anna Bright had to have lobbed 20+ times in this match, and it was working. Pretty much every time she was making them, pushing Ben and Leigh back, and had to have been unbelievably frustrating to play against, and this is kind of a theme. We saw a lot more lobbing than ever before this past weekend in Las Vegas. I was actually going to do a recap of this video before I decided to recap the huge upset victory of Tyra Black and Jorja Johnson over Anna Leigh and Anna Bright. Maybe I'll get to this one again, but I think the Anna Leigh versus Tyra and Jorja match deserves its own recap. Anna Bright tweeted out afterwards that the real lack of strategy that they had was she didn't lob enough. Saturday was gender doubles. We had Althoff Merchant and Steve Deacon back in the full. They won their first round match against Perez and Crum. They ended up losing to Hayden and Fed in the next round, but that didn't stop Althoff from getting fired up. Take a look at this.
Yeah! Let's go! Come on! 5 years, never won a hands down.
It's fun to have Althoff and Deacon in the pro draws. I wish I would see them a little bit more. Travis and Julian fell to Alex Emery and Andre Millett, and there was a controversial no call on a ball that may or may not have hit the player. And if there's anything we know about Travis and Julian, it's that they're going to speak their mind on the court. To me, it does look more likely than not that the ball hit him, but it's really, really difficult to see. Also impossible for anybody other than that player to call on themselves. The rest of the match was pretty chippy, and Travis and Julian ended up falling 11-4, 7-11, 11-3. Let me know in the comments, do you think that that hit the player? And by leaving a comment and subscribing, you'll also be entered into the Jolt giveaway. Other interesting men's doubles matches were Matt Wright and Eric Unseen's having another good run. They beat Tyson and CJ in 3 games before falling to Ben and Gabe. On the other side, Fed and Hayden were up big against Christian and Andre. They're up 10-3 in game 1, but Christian and Andre pulled it all the way back, and then they won the second game 11-4. And on the second to last point, Federico is not happy.
Wow, awkward off the tape, Matt. And get it.
Now, guys, I need your help. I've got my bird watching outfit for when people flip the bird, but it's not that common to have birds flipped. I think that paddle smashes are a little bit more common, and I would love a character where I can evaluate and rate all the different paddle smashes that players are giving to us on a given weekend. So, your homework, again, commenting for a chance to win the Jolt paddle, 3 of them, is I want you guys to come up with a segment or a character for me to evaluate paddle smashes. I'm going to probably go with whatever the top comment is on something like that. So please help me out because people love to watch paddle smashes like that. Help me out, guys. In women's doubles, we had Kate and Tina taking on Millie and Caitlin Christian, and there seemed to be some drama sort of coming out of nowhere. There's a little bit of trash talk between Caitlin and Tina going back and forth.
Are you done? We're trying to play. I'm not done. I'm not done. What else do you have to say?
Ready?
I have a lot to say. Yeah. Say it. Yeah, let me talk. You're trying to shut me down.
Millie seemed to be catching some strays. I have no idea what led to this, but boy, is it entertaining. And the Texas Ranchers have chemistry issues for next year from top to bottom. Good thing they have like 9 months to figure out whatever they need to figure out. Zoe Wong and Brooke Buckner took out Leah and Megan in 3 in one of the other only upsets of the weekend. Anna Leigh and Anna Bright played their incredible match against Jorja and Tyra, and we're going to break that down in detail in just a second here. On the other side, Catherine and Paris defeated Lacey and Eda to make the finals. But now for the Anna Leigh Waters and Anna Bright versus Tyra Black and Jorja Johnson match breakdown. This is something a little bit different on the channel. I found this match super entertaining, and I thought that there were some interesting insights that you guys can actually learn from as well. So, heading into this match, Anna Leigh and Anna Bright were 45-0 together. They'd won every single match that they had ever played, and industry experts were saying that they weren't going to lose a match the entire year. In fact, I had the prediction that they weren't going to lose a game for the rest of the year, and, well, clearly that didn't turn out correct. But I still do think that they're the best women's doubles team ever assembled in our sport. But this was actually the very first meeting between Anna Leigh and Anna Bright, and Tyra and Jorja. And I said throughout this entire time, the only team that has an actual chance against them is Tyra and Jorja, and they clearly proved that. Last time Tyra and Jorja played Catherine and Anna Leigh, they actually won as well, so they do have decent matchups against Anna Leigh, it seems like. And Jorja and Tyra stacked Jorja on the right and Tyra on the left in MLP. I think sometimes they play straight up in the PPA, but this time they decided to keep Tyra on the left for the entire match. There were some really, really good points early on in the match, like this one where Anna has like 6 different overheads. And the first few sideouts were a grind, neither team able to grab very much momentum. Annalie Waters and Anna Bright made a nice run from 1-3 to 6-3, playing very, very aggressive. They found some early success driving at Tyra, and off-bound speed-ups to Georgia's forehand were working well as well. Georgia has a somewhat unconventional forehand when it comes to countering from up here, and so if you hit it high to her, she's unbelievable at defending it, but if you catch her down slightly lower, you can get a little bit of errors from that side there. It could be a bit erratic. So Annalie Waters and Anna Bright were really only attacking balls off of the bounce that they could comfortably hit towards Georgia's forehand, and it was working quite well in game 1. Initiating team was winning the vast majority of the points, and the Annas win game 1 11-5, but they may have made their strategy a little bit too obvious. Drive at Tyra and speed up at Georgia's forehand. Now, when asked about their strategy after the match, Tyra said, "I just realized that I needed to be more aggressive and put more pressure on. They're great at doing that, so I thought we had to do it first." And in game 2, that is just what they did. Jorja and Tyra started switching up the strategy a little bit. Recognizing that Annalie and Anna Bright were speeding up dinks off the bounce only when they're out wide, they stopped giving that opportunity. It's very, very difficult to attack down that forehand line if you don't have the angle to do so. So when Tyra went out to the ad side or the odd side backhand, she either went very much a push dink or a little bit more to the center so that they couldn't attack to Georgia's forehand as effectively.
And very aggressive rolled dinks from Tyra Black.
And that worked very, very well. Tyra started hitting far more aggressive dinks, and there's a very, very good lesson to learn for you here. Understand your opponent's preferred speed-ups. Everybody has a preference. If your opponents enjoy speeding the ball up out of the air, you may have to hit a little bit more in the way of dead dinks. If your opponents like speeding the ball up off of the bounce, hitting more aggressive dinks to force them to speed up out of the air might be a good play as well. And that's just what Tyra and Jorja did. It seems simple, but try and make your opponent hit shots that they're not as comfortable with. Now, take a look at these 2 points because this describes perfectly the strategy change that Tyra and Jorja made. Here's game 1. Tyra and Jorja's dinks were landing in the light gray. And compare that with game 2. Tyra and Jorja's dinks are landing in the dark gray. Pretty simple adjustment. This strategy adjustment, coupled with a couple of loose errors, got Jorja and Tyra a 4-0 lead in game 2. Couple of crazy flicks from Tyra, and these are actually insane, got them to 6-0 in game 2, and we got a timeout. At 7-0, Jorja successfully shuts down the pattern that worked so well for the Annas in game 1, the down the line speed up to the forehand. All of a sudden, the Annas seem to be on the back foot. You guys may call me crazy for this, but take a look. Here is the perfect example. Anna Bright hits a counter while moving backwards, and Tyra hits this backhand dink. Anna's already 2 or 3 steps off of the line, and she's on her back foot. She gave away a huge opportunity to attack in this point, and if she was on the kitchen line and leaning forward, that ball is probably high enough to hit for damn near an outright winner, but instead, it's just a dink. Tyra and Jorja end up losing the point on Tyra's flick, but this point embodies exactly what went wrong for Annalie and Anna Bright in a single point. Tyra and Jorja were able to shut down the attacks. Annalie and Anna Bright got a little bit passive, and Tyra got more aggressive. This brings us to another coaching point. Even when your objective is to grind out your opponents, you still need to stay active and stay front foot. At this point, Anna Bright went into lockdown mode. She was just not going to miss a ball. And even when you're doing that, you never want to be entirely passive because you'll miss attacking opportunities and you won't get much pace behind your counterattacks when you are attacked. Annalie and Anna Bright brought it back to 5-8-2, and they play one of the most insane doubles points of the year. It's a little bit too long for me to play in full, but Tyra and Jorja play some insane defense and get the ball back at 8-5-1 with a huge momentum swing. Guys, The quality of this match all around was just so unbelievably high. There were a couple of side outs and crazy points to bring things back to this game point for Jorja and Tyra, and we're going to a third. Now, at the beginning of Game 3, Leigh tries to go back to the well and what worked for them in Game 1, which is once again speeding up to Jorja's forehand. She misses that in the net, and then they start to get a little bit frustrated, still trying to find that offense from Game 1. Stumped for offense, Leigh and Anna Bright start pressing a little bit, looking for any way to be offensive, but the attacks just aren't there. And they opened the door for Jorja and Tyra. They stepped right in and switched sides at 6-0 in the third. But if we know anything about Leigh and Anna Bright, they've got to be the hardest team in pickleball to shut down, which is why nobody's done it before. Right after the side switch, we had this insane point. Again, I can't play the entire thing because I don't own the copyright, but here are a couple of quick highlights from this one point. There are enough highlight shots for this to be an entire match, but this is just a single point. Anyway, at 1-6, we have another Tyra flick, followed by immediately more pressed offense from Leigh and Anna Bright. The rest of the match followed the same patterns. Tyra and Jorja refused to miss, and Leigh and Anna Bright kept pressing for offense. When they let off the gas, Tyra stepped in for some of her own offense to give them an 11-5 win. For sake of rivalry and parity on the women's side, I hope that Jorja and Tyra keep playing together. I feel like it's good to have a rivalry at the top of the game, and this is such an exciting one. I definitely recommend watching this match in its entirety because there was not a single dull point. And anyway, there was still a bunch more pickleball to be played in Las Vegas. That brought us to Championship Sunday, where in mixed doubles, Ben and Leigh righted the ship against Tyra and Hayden and ended their run. Again, I hope that Tyra and Hayden play a little bit more together because that's a fun team that I think can actually push Ben and Leigh in the long term. In women's singles, Caitlin Christian defeated Kate Fahey in 3 very close games. She lost the first 9-11 and then won the next 2 11-9, 11-9. In women's doubles, Tyra and Jorja continued their momentum, beating Paris and Catherine 11-7, 11-5, 9-11, 11-9. Men's doubles was also extremely interesting. Andre and Christian won an intense first game 12-10 over Gabe and Ben, and Christian was just lighting up Gabe. He was going full send. Gabe has incredibly quick hands, but sometimes that can actually work against him. He rarely lets the ball go, and Christian was definitely capitalizing on that fact. Andre and Christian had a game point in Game 2 to go of 2-0, but couldn't capitalize. It was all downhill from there. They ended up losing the next 2 games 11-3 and 11-2. In men's singles, Johnny G, or Luch, is at it again. He's now on a 2-tournament winning streak heading back to Bristol. The kid is legit. Hunter is definitely the best singles player in the world on any given day, so to earn a win against him is an incredible feat, especially when you consider that this is his 2nd tournament win in a row. He joins Hunter Johnson, Federico Stockstrud, Ben Johns, Christian Alshon, and actually yours truly as the only men to win back-to-back titles on the PPA Tour. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this develops and if this becomes a big rivalry in pickleball. It's also going to be interesting to see how Johnny G, or Luch, I keep messing it up, Luch, is going to react to the expectations of now being expected to win. Most people find it much easier to be the hunter, but Luch is now going to have a target on his back, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. So, lots of stuff coming at you from PPA Las Vegas. If you liked this video, please leave a comment to enter into the giveaway for a Pro XR Jolt paddle, and please subscribe as well. I'm bringing this content to you guys every single week from the PPA and MLP tours. Takes a lot of time up on my Sunday night to bring this to you guys, so if you like it, please share, please subscribe, please do all that stuff. It really helps me out a lot. So, thanks guys.